So you need to know that 6 weeks ago, I decided my sermon topic. 6 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, I started writing it. But in the last 12 days, I've had to rewrite the sermon almost every day. Why? Because I had decided to speak on the topic of how divided our families and society were becoming over the years due to schism over politics and social issues. Where never before I knew I needed to recognize the divisiveness that's led to estrangement of relationships with family members and friends. So I'm curious, how many here, raise your hand, are estranged or strained relationship with a family or friend over political or social issues? Raise your hand. Okay. Next question. How many of you have learned who you can discuss these issues with and who you can't? Wow. And how many of you have someone you like to raise these issues with simply to annoy them? I know who you are. A survey conducted last September by the American Psychiatric Association indicated about 1 in 5 people, and I think it's about correct or what here, estranged from at least one member of their family due to disagreements over controversial issues. 41% reported arguing with a family member over controversial issues. I have to believe that they're a little bit higher since that survey was taken. But we know what's happened. Families unable to gather together now. How many of you have lost people at your Seder table over these issues? Hanukkah candle lighting, the break fast at the end of Yom Kippur. Just more factors weakening our family unit. We see misinformation, disinformation considered as fact. I don't know about you. What concerned me most today is about the AI capabilities. Can do anything. Can change pictures and words so that we can't believe a single thing anymore that we see or we hear. You don't think that destroys our soul, our sense of trust and relationship with each other and with how we live our lives? The inability to distinguish between fact and fiction, it impacts our trust issues. It heightens our anxiety. Do you feel it like I do? Daily, we see outrageous statements and social media posts that lead to further vitriol in the response. And don't you see a post, you go like, oh, I can't wait for those responses to come. Both sides of the political spectrum, emotions are running high, demonizing and dehumanizing the people who disagree with them, turning them into the enemy. Covert and overt threats warning these people that they deserve death. Not just a war of words. I wrote 4 weeks ago. I wrote about the assassination attempt on President Trump, more recent assassinations, Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the shooting of a state senator, John Hoffman, and his wife. I knew that things were changing. I just didn't know that the top was about to blow off. And in the introduction that I wrote 4 weeks ago, I actually had a different introduction that I felt I needed to prove to all of you how important this issue was. I had examples and stories to talk about the conflict created in families. And then I didn't need that introduction anymore. Unfortunately, the last 12 days, we've been living in the apocalypse of social discord. I actually wrote the following 4 weeks ago. These divisions are just part of the larger societal divide that we have been feeling for some time and have become more volatile in recent years. We all feel the tension of our families, our society over social and political issues that we disagree about, finding its worst possible manifestation in threats and acts of violence. And then September 10th happened, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I knew I didn't need this introduction to emphasize the importance of this issue. I knew my worst fears had come true. I want you to know that aside from the introduction, nothing else has changed in my sermon. My sermon is not a response to Kirk's death. Well, some of you would like me to make political statements about the right or the left, wouldn't some of you? You know me by now. Am I going to fall into that trap? No. And if you're reading some political message into what I'm about to share, you're doing just that. You're reading into it. The theme of the sermon from its very inception was the Jewish view of disagreement and Jewish listening. We all know that disagreement is part of the Jewish DNA. You know the jokes. You know the joke about the man on the desert island who, stranded? You know this, many of you. Stranded. 20 years later, he's finally rescued. They come, they get him, they takes him on a tour around the island. Right? And there's a place where he lived, and there's another place, very nice, had a Jewish star on it. And they say, what's that? That's the synagogue I go to pray at. They walk a little bit further, and there's another building just like that with a Jewish star. And they say, well, what's that building? And they say, well, this is the synagogue I won't pray in. And then they pack up and they walk back to the ship, and there's a third one with another Jewish star. And they say, what's that one? They go, that one? That's the synagogue I wouldn't even step foot in. It's in our DNA to disagree. There is the story about an interfaith clergy debate where one of the non-Jewish clerics says to the rabbi, I don't agree with your opinion. To which the rabbi responded, I don't always agree with my opinion either. What's the history of disagreement among the Jewish people? You just have to look at the Torah. Just read about the Israelites wandering in the wilderness and kvetching and finding something to argue about. Always a dissatisfaction, always a challenge. The most well-known, some of you may know, is Korach. Korach, who's able to put together an insurrection because he appeals to the baser values of others and gathers together a group that can stand up to Moses and to Aaron. And in the end, the dispute is decided by God. The earth opens up, swallows Korach and many of the followers. Wouldn't that be great if that could happen today? Well, the Torah permits capital punishment for idolatry, blasphemy, and other sins against God. The later rabbis made it clear that it is not in our human hands to punish in that way. We leave it to God because only God knows our hearts and knows what we are about. Humans are not allowed to respond with violence to any of these types of crimes. One of the most famous disputes you may know about, some of you, between the rabbis Hillel and Shammai, a couple thousand years ago. In fact, they debated about how we light Hanukkah candles. Some of you may know this debate. According to Shammai, we're supposed to start with 8 and then decrease each night to 1. According to Hillel, we start with 1 and then increase each night up to 8. Who won? Hillel. He won almost all the time, which is why, by the way, there's no organization on campus named Shammai. And there's no synagogue named Beit Shammai. You just don't have him. Hillel, most of the time, he's winning those arguments. And why does he win? Why is his view accepted? According to the Talmud, a bat kol, a heavenly voice, comes down and says, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim. Both of the words of Hillel and Shammai are the words of a living God. And why is Beit Hillel preferred? Because they were kindly and humble. That humility even led them to teach the opinion of Beit Shammai before their own. Whenever Beit Shammai teaches, they share the view of Shammai first. Not a cancel culture. It's not about negating, rejecting, or wishing it into oblivion. They acknowledge the other view. We can believe that the other person is wrong and still believe it's important to hear their narrative. Do I need to say that again? You can believe that somebody is wrong, but that you still can hear and learn from them. Don't we teach our children when they're young, those of you who've had children, don't you say, look, try and understand what the other child is feeling. Listen to their words. Have we thrown away that teaching? Can we not teach that to our children anymore if we are rejecting it? And in truth, the Jewish approach is not about conflict resolution, but rather about conflict acceptance. That's the Jewish way. It's the acknowledgement that unanimity is impossible. And therefore, we need to figure out how to work with each other and get along. The rabbis figured it out by accepting Hillel's views. But they didn't demonize or dehumanize Shammai. In fact, it's the opposite. They elevate this debate between Hillel and Shammai in the Ethics of the Fathers, Pirkei Avot. Some of you may have read this beautiful section of Mishnah. It says this: every dispute that is l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, will in the end endure. But one that is not l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, will not endure. Which is the controversy that's for the sake of heaven? Such was the controversy of Hillel and Shammai. And which is the controversy not for the sake of heaven? The controversy of Korach and his congregation. When our disagreement is predicated on both of us wanting to create a better world, when we come with a concern about other people rather than ourselves, when we engage in holy disagreement, we l'shem shamayim, are attempting to live out God's will. The structure of Jewish learning is predicated on this holy disagreement. Many of you ever studied Talmud? Any of you ever studied Talmud? Maybe some of you have. If you ever studied Talmud, it goes like this. Rabbi A shares an opinion or a ritual. Rabbi B then comes up with an argument to reject Rabbi A. Then Rabbi C comes in to reject the rejection of Rabbi B. That's the didactic of the Talmud. Back and forth to achieve the answer, but it's only through the shaka and tarya, the give and take. No cancel culture of opinions in the Talmud. In fact, if you've ever read a wonderful book, It's a Driven Leaf. Any of you read that? Milton Steinberg. If you haven't, I would definitely recommend it. Part of it's the story of Rabbi Elisha ben Abuya, who lived at the end of the first century, who became a heretic. Literally, he was excommunicated, became a heretic. Rather than eliminate his views from Talmudic debates, the rabbi simply referred to him as the acher, the other. One of his students was Rabbi Meir, one of the great rabbis of that generation. And he continued to study with the master, Elisha ben Abuya. And how did he rationalize studying with a heretic? He's challenged on it. And how did he respond in the Talmud? He says, one can eat the fruit and discard the shell. That is, you can learn Torah while rejecting the other views. The ability to learn from others even when we disagree with them. The model of Hillel and Shammai and other famous pairs, when we study Talmud, you're not supposed to study Talmud on your own, by the way. You're supposed to be in Chevruta. You know that, Marcia. You're supposed to be in Chevruta, one, if not more people that you study with. And ideally, you find a bar plugta or a bat plugta to study with. Bar and bat, you know, daughter, son of, or disciple of. Plugta is disagreement, dispute. Your Chevruta partner, your bar or bat plugta, is the person with whom you discuss, debate, and challenge the text. Your Chevruta partner is supposed to challenge you by asking probing questions, raise alternative interpretations, expose contradictions in your thinking, push you to clarify your own thinking. The AMA survey I quoted earlier from last November found that only 27% of respondents indicated they enjoy hearing different points of view. Are you one of those 27? Well, one may not enjoy hearing the other side. We must approach the importance of doing so. The Jewish approach is to find your bar or bat plugta and engage in holy discourse. Share your disagreements. Share your feelings. Challenge one another. Learn from one another. That is true learning. That's how you learn the ways of humanity. Think about the world we could create if we could listen and learn from those we disagree with. Do you have a bar or bat plugta in your life? Someone you can disagree with, the most complicated issues in the world you're dealing with? If you're on the political left, your bar plugta should be on the right. But in truth, we've oversimplified those terms right and left. I'm blessed to know very intelligent people on both sides of the political spectrum, and yet who have nuanced views of different issues. They're not obligated to think about party lines, but because they think about each and every issue unto itself. I enjoy speaking with these people because we're both able to come to conclusions, sometimes the same conclusion. Sometimes we acknowledge our differences, but our reasoning is even better. It's unfortunate that not only are most people not seeking someone to challenge their views, but in addition, the views are being reinforced, culled by AI algorithms. You know that. If you're on a social platform, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, X, any of those, Instagram, you are getting the information that their algorithm wants to give you. It knows everything you look at. It knows everything you like. It knows how long you've looked at something, and then it determines what it's going to send you. We live in a society in which the platforms reinforce this idea: just read and learn about what you agree with. If there was such a thing as a Jewish platform, and we need to create one, it would be one in which it would send you the opposite of what you look at just to start a disagreement with you. Wouldn't that be the Jewish platform? Someone's going to come up with that idea. The pain of the other side. It's not enough to read or watch the views that are contrary to yours, but rather learning from the other side has to happen through human interaction. I'm going to tell you, it's not about reading, it's not about watching, it's about talking with other people. It's the only way to humanize the other side. Listening, feeling, doesn't mean that they're right. It is the approach of Rabbi Meir that in spite of we may consider them to be heretical views, that we can learn from them. And the dialogue is a sacred endeavor itself. Very often conflict occurs because we dehumanize the other side. What a terrible thing. We don't agree with somebody, so we call them the enemy. We vilify them, we call them evil. We place the problems of the world on their shoulders, everything. Everything is their fault. Does that sound like the accusations made against the Jews over millennia? Think about what we do when we put every problem on somebody just for one view that they may have. We dehumanize people. That's what happens. We have to understand and to be able to engage. Very often conflict occurs. We call them names. If someone's critical of some aspect of American politics or society, they belong to the crazy left or the fanatical right. Isn't that true? It's what you say. If they're a supporter of Israeli or American political leaders, they're deemed to be immoral. If they're critical of Israel politics, we say that they're anti-Israel. So often we paint people with a broad, monolithic brushstroke because of one or two or a couple things that they believe in. To be Jewish is to do what you believe is right while also understanding the other side and their pain. To be Jewish means that even when justice is being executed, we acknowledge that we're made in the image of God. When it says in Genesis that we're made B'Tselem Elohim, the image of God, it doesn't say some people. It doesn't say most people. It says everyone is made in the image of God. Passover Seder, perfect example of the rabbis wanting to help retain the humanity of the Jewish people. We focus on the Exodus and the importance of freedom, but there's also embedded another message in the Haggadah. You know this, namely that throughout history there are pharaohs that have risen up, nations that sought to destroy us. We celebrate the miracle of our continued survival, which is the fate of the Jewish people. We elevate and celebrate the signs and wonders, the 10 plagues. We call out those plagues that destroyed the economy, that destroyed people, that afflicted the Egyptians, and ultimately led to Pharaoh letting us go. But what ritual did the rabbis create? And you know this one. When we call out each plague, we spill one drop of wine onto our plate. 10 distinct drops that we're supposed to see. What's the meaning behind this ritual? Many of you know the rabbinic explanation that it indicates the sadness and suffering of the Egyptians who suffered. Many of them who were just innocent. They who suffered at the hands of the stubbornness of Pharaoh. Why did they have to suffer? Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory said the following about this ritual. With each plague we spill a drop of wine, we shed a tear. Because for a moment we allow ourselves to think of the victims of our victories. The pain of the other side who were enslaving us, but they were still human. They were still suffering. It's when you can feel your opponent's pain that you're beginning the path that leads to reconciliation. It's a well-known midrash. It says that the Israelites passed through the Sea of Reeds. As they passed to safety, the waters came crashing down on the Egyptians who were following them. And the angels started to sing to God God's praises for this. And God says, stop! Don't you sing my praises. My creatures, they're dying. You may not sing. We have traditions that teach us, do not relish in the suffering of others, even when they're wrong. That is the ideas and the rituals that the rabbis have brought in to create and keep the humanity of our people. Many of you know that the name Israel comes from the story of Jacob wrestling with a divine being. The name Yaakov is changed to Yisrael as he has that divine creature in his grasp. And it means to struggle with God and prevail. That's the name he's given, Yisrael. We are B'nai Yisrael. We are the children of Israel. And what does it mean? It means that we wrestle with the issues of life, even with our understanding of God. This is the model of Abraham arguing with God about the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah and whether it deserved to be destroyed or not. But we often in that story forget about one part, the end. Because what happens as he is getting that blessing, Jacob, now Israel's hip is wrenched. Do you know this part of the story? And he walks with a limp for the rest of his life. Is it possible that a human can be God? Not really. What is this trying to teach us? That when it comes to real struggle, you're going to have pain. Real struggle is going to have its impact in you. Jacob never walked the way again without a limp. He would always remember that moment. We have to recognize the pain that comes with it. That's how we keep our humanity. So where does that leave us today? 12 days later. A couple of days ago, I was speaking with one of my bar pluktas. And as we discussed the issues surrounding the assassination of Kirk, which everyone is casting blame on, the other side, he said something that I found very profound. We were on the phone, and I can still remember. He said, it isn't who's wrong, but what's wrong we need to talk about. I thought that was so profound. And given the current climate, do you have any sense of hope? Are the forces too great? Are they just now coming to an eruption and becoming even worse? How do we have an impact on this? It's moments like this that I think of the starfish story, and some of you know this one. It's a little bit hokey, but it speaks to me in moments like this. It's a moment one morning just after sunrise, and an old man walked along a quiet stretch of beach. Tide had gone out, leaving behind hundreds of starfish stranded on the sand. The sun was already warming the beach, and he knew that soon the starfish would dry out and die. Up ahead, he noticed a small figure. It was a young boy walking slowly, bending down every few steps. The man watched carefully. The boy was picking up a starfish one by one, with a gentle motion tossing it back into the sea. The old man chuckled to himself. What difference could the boy possibly make? There are thousands of them, of the starfish along the shore. When he came closer, he called out, "Why are you wasting your time? Look around you. You can't possibly save them all. What does it matter?" The boy paused. He looked at the starfish that he was holding. Finally, he threw it into the ocean. He looked at the man and said, "Well, it matters to that one." The old man was silent for a moment. Then slowly he bent down, picked up a starfish of his own, and threw it back into the ocean. Soon others were walking along the beach and began to do the same. And while they couldn't save every starfish, each one they returned to the sea was given another chance of life. How do we change the world today? One disagreement at a time. Start with your family and your friends and the people who are closest to you. Let's avoid rhetoric and name-calling, blame game. And most of all, stop with the social posts. All they do is create more anxiety and tension. Let's just stop with them. What do you gain? You think you're going to change the world with a post? You think somebody's going to say, "Oh, they're right. I never saw it that way." Especially when they do it with such anger and vitriol and sarcasm. "Oh, they must be right. Are you crazy?" Let's stop those things and let's begin to dialogue one-to-one. At HAMAKOM, let's serve as a place not that's divided and ripped apart, but we can have those difficult discussions where we can look at each other and disagree, but be able to learn from one another. That is what a sacred community is. HAMAKOM, let it be that place, the place where we can change the world, these forces that are against us. Let us be an example, the Jewish way to confront conflict in this coming year. A blessing. Let us see the divinity in one another, engage in holy disputes, l'shem shemaim, and in doing so, may we be agents of change for peace. And let's all say, Amen. Wow. Did that speak to you? Right. Thank you. We live in a crazy world, but we can make a difference, and I want you to know that.